Tom Morello, it is freezing cold out there. There is snow, there is sleet. What brings you to Madison, Wisconsin?
Well, neither snow nor sleet nor dark of night will keep the Night Watchman from his appointed task, I'll tell you that. And I was called here by the people of Madison and by my friends in the union. They asked me to come and support their historic struggle to preserve workers' rights in the United States, and I was very happy to come.
You've been part of many demonstrations. You've addressed, performed for many, many crowds. When you say historic, what sets this apart?
Well, I mean, the fact that there's 50, 70, 100,000 people in the streets every day here. It's every single day. The governor very much miscalculated when he thought he was going to be able to roll back workers' rights starting in Wisconsin, because they're just not having it here. And it's a shining example for working people across the United States to not just hold dearly to the rights they have, but let's do some advancing of those rights as well.
Now, you have the advantage as somebody who travels around the country and sees what's happening in the land to get a sense of where this kind of energy comes from. As you look over the last 5 or 6 years, the last time you and I talked, it was 3 years ago, you were touring the country against the death penalty. What are the seeds from which this grew? And what's the scene nationally?
Sure. Well, I mean, this is not news, but I mean, the Obama administration was elected, and Democrats showed no spine whatsoever. There's zero steel in their backbone. That's why everybody's so energized by this struggle. It's like Madison has set the example for the rest of the country. It's like it's finally people on our side are standing up strongly, not just demanding their rights, but they're going to get it. Like if you spent any time in the Capitol building, spent any time in the streets, the one thing that you know is that we're winning.
Why do you care personally?
Well, I mean, I care for a number of reasons. One, that I'm, for over 20 years, I've been a member of the Musicians Union, Local 47, Los Angeles. My mother was also a public high school teacher for almost 30 years in Illinois, and was a union public high school teacher. And this is what happens in times of economic hardship. Right-wing demagogues and their corporate, who are sucking at their corporate masters' teats, like Governor Walker, they try to use as an excuse to roll back decades or even a century of workers' rights progress, and they miscalculated. They just were too smug and too overconfident. They tried to get away with it here, and they're not going to get away with it here because even the Green Bay Packers are against them.
You know the history, and you know the history of folk music, among other things. Looking back at the 30s, that was a time of depression that saw a massive growth of trade unions. People understood if they banded together, they could advance their shared interests. Today, in this recession, we've seen trade unions take a major hit. What's the difference? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the right wing controls the narrative. I think that's the major difference, and that the right wing is much more, first of all, I believe, have their claws in the corporate-owned media, public, or notwithstanding the present company, but the reason why this is a historic struggle is because the people of Wisconsin, the people of Madison, are taking the narrative back. They're saying, we, like people around the globe, like people in Cairo, like people in Bahrain, we want justice, and we're willing to go out in the streets and take it. We're not going to wait around for politicians to give it to us, and we're not going to wait around for news commentators to agree with our point of view. They're out in the streets taking it. It's so inspiring. It's really it's the first time in my lifetime. When's the last time that you've seen tens of thousands of people in the streets daily fighting for their rights? It's firefighters. Last night I was in the Capitol building visiting with the students there. We're all pumped up, and I was, I've been to many protests. You kind of like sneak by the cop, but the cop's like, "Hey, bro, I want to take a picture with you. I'm down with the union." And so I'm like broing down with these cops at a protest. Like, that is historic, if nothing else.
And how's the music? What's the soundtrack?
There's a lot of kind of hippie drum circles, frankly, which is an acquired taste. I got to tell you that. Go ahead.
What about all those bagpipes coming in with firefighters now?
Oh, I didn't see that. That sounds good. That sounds pretty good.
You're here performing tonight with whom?
I am the Night Watchman. I will be performing with me, but also tonight Wayne Kramer from the mighty MC5 is performing. Brother Wayne Kramer. Tom from the band Against Me. The anarcho-syndicalist band Against Me is performing. The Street Dogs, a great band from Boston. And finally, and Ike Riley, my good friend from Libertyville, Illinois, and a strong union man who actually drove us up here in a blizzard. When does this go out in the air?
Well, it will be going out at some point today, and it'll be broadcasting again Tuesday.
If you hear this before 6 o'clock tonight, it's at the Monona Terrace on East Wilson Street. The doors are at 6 p.m. The program begins at 7, and it's the people's price, free.
Final shout out for independent media. I'm here with GRITtv, but also Mother Jones, with The Uptake, with WORT, with Free Speech TV. It's extraordinary what we're being able to pull together here, and it's thanks to years of work and collaboration. Kind of like you. We're kind of a, well, not like you, but we are a pickup band on the media side. Do we make a difference?
Absolutely, and it's a huge difference. I mean, you're seeing independent media around the globe not just making a difference, but changing administrations. There are a lot of similarities between what went on in the streets of Cairo and what's going on in the streets here, and it's one tyrant down, one to go.
I forgot. There's always one more question after finally. Musicians have had to reinvent their economy from a structure that was all about the big corporations and getting the great big deal and a lot of money to one that's increasingly about self-production, self-promotion, having your own label. Is there something we as an economy need to learn from what musicians have already perhaps learned?
Well, the Night Watchman hopes to one day make $1, but because I'm out there, like I do this for the love of it. I'm an unpaid performer at this. For me, like music is a calling. It's not a career, and I would do it if I was in any of my band's incarnations, Rage Against the Machine, Audioslave, or the Night Watchman, for free. Don't tell promoters that, by the way. But certainly this is, it's in the tradition of artists like Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger, who I try to help put wind in the sails of the struggle by being the cultural component of, when people are, whether it's, sometimes there's a hippie drum circle, fine, enjoy that. But also, I think sometimes that sort of tribal spirit does sound very revolutionary, and sometimes it's the lyrics of the song or pumping up a crowd. Joe Hill, who's one of my great heroes as a guitar player, though he has no recorded work, said, a pamphlet is read one time, but a song can be sung again and again and again. And that kind of feeling of solidarity and spirit in the room. For example, today on the Capitol steps, what we did there was create a little bit of the world that we'd like to see. It's working class people of all religions, of all races, of all creeds. It's students, and it's firefighters, and it's policemen, and it's rabbis, and it's the unemployed, and it's the crazy hippie drum circle people, all coming together to pull together to make a better world. And on the other side, you've got this kind of fiendish Governor Walker, who really is just, thought he was going to get away with murder, and he's going to be really in for a surprise, because there's been calls for a recall, there's been calls for a general strike, there's been calls for a lot of things that he never expected, and these first 10 days have just been the first stinging slap to him and his agenda.
You better watch out. The Night Watchman is watching, and he's with us. Tom Morello. Thanks for watching.